Hello, my friends. We talked about spiritual bypassing very recently, and today I want to kind of bridge it or compare it to something called spiritual transcendence. I think we have all heard that word that, we want to transcend. We want to transcend into the fourth or the fifth dimension. Fifth dimension is pretty popular amongst many people these days. And, is there really a difference? As we talked about spiritual bypassing, that is usually avoiding the uncomfortable places in ourselves, the past traumas, past hurts, emotional attachments, grief, hardship, suffering. And of course, we want to pass that by really, really fast, right? Who wants to go there? Nobody. Until you realize that there might be some significance in actually going into these places as opposed to bypassing them. And there's a lot more to the bypassing than just, the emotions. There is a lot going on in the world that is hard to face, depending on, what your trusted authorities are, depending on who you listen to, what blog posts you read, what news outlet you engage in. There's a lot of this conflicting information that I have talked about before. And again, if we go inside, there must be a questioning like, how is this possible? How can somebody here say this with 100% conviction, and then over here, the absolute opposite with equal amount of conviction? That should make us wonder. That should make us stop or pause and say, what is that? How is that possible? But what most people do is doing a bypass on that and say, no, this is right, you're wrong, right? That's what I've talked too much about, maybe even. But there is something really important about that. Many times, let's say they want to believe in this and they want to believe in that because they can't handle if this is true over here and it is totally scary for these over here. Instead of being curious and doing your own research and see, does it really make sense that this is happening and blah, blah, blah. But what most people do is bypassing that. That's just a different way of bypassing what is actually going on and how that impacts you. And if we want to be fully free, we kind of have to meet it all. We don't have to meet everything, head on, but we need to kind of have enough courage, bravery to move into it and find out what is true here. And I think that most people are afraid of that because what if this is true? Would you be able to handle it? How would that impact you? So I want to just ask you for a moment to just take a breath and not immediately maybe turn off the video or, go to what you think you know. And I'm not saying it's wrong what you think you know, but I want to open the door for a deeper investigation of what is going on in the world, not as a detective to come out with like, this is the truth. No, it is for us to be able to meet inside of ourselves the places that we are afraid to experience. Because let's say, what if this is true? It's like, I can't handle that. I just don't want to be here anymore. So that's why I'm doing a bypass, just going to ignore the whole thing and just do my own thing. Good. I do a lot of that too. But it's not because I'm ignoring it. It's just because I let myself meet that, and whatever fear or disgust or distrust or whatever it is that it brings up in me, that's an opportunity for me to meet that head on so that I can experience it fully. And here's what I want to stitch it into transcendence. And this is just my experience and my exploration of it. So you may have your own. I'm good with that. But how I see it is that when we are able to not do the bypass, but go into whatever is going on over here, and just do some research, take some time to take it in, possibly without the filters of judgment and, I can't handle that, because that is what we want to meet in here. Let's say this is coming up here for us to see what arises in us inside that still keeps us trapped in the matrix, in the trance. And if we avoid meeting it here, then we are in some kind of an internal battle with this, whatever's going on here, and we're not free. This, even though it might be deeply unconscious, is still feeding this thing because it's not free. So I would claim that when we're able to meet these places inside of ourselves, something changes. I have seen it in myself 1,000 times. I have seen it in my clients 1,000 times. Something shifts, something lets go. But you have to go all the way into it to fully experience it. And what we'll experience when we are not trying to avoid or uh, bypass or clamp down on or turn away from or mentalize, was a big bypass, is mentalizing about it. When we don't do that, then we can go and experience the rawness of our true experience. And the more we learn to do that with a loving attitude, with self-love, where we can kind of hold that painful, traumatic place in us, that fear, that rage, we meet it in here. And when we meet it in here, this trauma, emotional pain, whatever, it simply relaxes because now there's something loving, something bigger than itself is holding it. So now this can relax a little bit and relax a little bit. And when it starts relaxing, and when it starts relaxing fully, we realize what it is. And of course, this again is a very individual experience, but it simply starts melting away. And there is a realization, and I don't want to say too much about it because you really want the inner experience. I don't want you to go and make it a mental concept or construct and then think that you're doing it, because that's not it. You will deeply feel that fear or that rage or that trauma, that grief. You'll deeply feel it. And that's what's uncomfortable, right? That's what we want to avoid. But when you don't resist it, things change right away. You're now willing to hold it, and this can start relaxing. And then the fear starts softening or going away. The grief may have a big wave of tears coming out. Once it's out, there's like, oh, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then there is clarity. There is a deeper seeing of what really is going on. And from that place, we have a new choice. we can see that that is actually not as scary or as true, or maybe it is, but it doesn't have that same impact. So now we can meet it out there from a place of presence, from a place of peace, because you see through it. You literally see through it, whatever that means. You have to have your own experience. This is what I would call transcendence, because the trance that we have lived in ends, right? Transcend. The trance ends. When you don't do the bypass, you're willing to go in and experience it fully. And from that place, we have different choices, which is also the magic. There's a lot of power in really going in and fully embodying who we truly are without that resistance and that bypassing. There's a new energy available to every single one of us every single time we do it. And now this is not scary anymore, at least not to the extent that it was before, or we don't have that deep judgment about ourselves. We just see something just shifts and softens and gets more peaceful. And then so the trance inside of ourselves, which was also where we avoided it, right? We bypass it because it's a trance. You see through the trance. That means the trance ends. And now then there's no reason to bypass the next layers anymore, because something in you has learned that there's really no reality to it other than the resistance that I put into it. You get that? So what makes it so real to us, this trance, is that we resist it. We don't want to go there because it feels so real, right? This trance, it feels so real, and I don't want to go there. But then when you learn to actually go there just a little bit at a time, you may just stick in your toe or your finger to begin with, and you learn to gradually just like let yourself sink into it. And then you realize that what felt so hard and scary is just frozen love. So that's why it melts when we go in there with love. It just melts. And then the trance ends. So we're not trying to go above it. The trance ends. It just ends. It comes to a halt because you're not engaging in it through your emotions, through your resistances, through your attachment, whether it is attachment to get away from it or get it closer. It ends. It's like it's over. So you do not need to avoid it anymore, inside and outside. And now when you're walking around without the trance, then you can meet everything, including yourself, from a very, very different place. This is how I see we can bring more peace to the world, more peace to ourselves, change things, because now we bring to the world what we before tried to create by resisting it and fighting it and avoiding it. But it is already here. So that's why the moving through the places that seem very scary, that seem real, in doing that, something shifts inside, and there is deeper peace, deeper presence, more aliveness, more courage, because it's already who we are. So by melting this frozenness, by not avoiding it anymore, like when you avoid, it's like giving it a cold shoulder, right? So it's cold. It's like, no, it needs to soften. And then things just change. So that is my little explanation about the difference between a spiritual bypass and spiritual transcendence. You don't need to go anywhere. We're already here.